Well, this is Millennial meets Gen Z, where I, the Millennial, introduce Hannah,
Hi.
the Gen Z, to the 90s through movies, music, TV, and fashion. And our next movie comes from 1991, and it is called Fried Green Tomatoes. Now, before we go into our thoughts, Hannah, I want to share my background on this movie. This movie was in theaters in December of 1991, but it was already on TV by January of 1992. Um, and so I would have seen this with my mom watching it at home on the TV, probably in 92 or 93. And my mom had said that she had read the book and wanted to see this movie. So growing up, I usually stumbled upon her starting movie and I would sit down to watch it, often ending up watching it by myself as she'd get up to do a load of laundry, and then come back to the couch. She'd fold it and then she'd go away again to put it away. So she didn't sit down much, but I sat down through a movie and I wouldn't move until it was over. So, um, I don't really remember this being any kind of exception. I'm pretty sure I just sat down and watched this movie in its entirety, and I was maybe 12 at the most, probably younger. Um, so if you can think about that in concept when we're kind of going through that. But thoughts of what this was and wasn't appropriate, really wasn't a thought in my house. Like we didn't think about like what movies had like appropriate and not appropriate stuff for me growing up. Because I grew up watching like The Blob and Killer Clowns from Outer Space and Hitchcock movies and a whole bunch of like old movies and TV shows that was constantly on. Uh, and despite what my grandmother would have threatened, my mom and I watched together never really affected my maturity or intelligence, and nor did it really ever give me nightmares. Um, so now, Hannah, you said that you didn't really watch a lot of movies growing up. Was that something from your parents, or were you just not interested in like a lot of movies, or did they just not have that stuff on?
So, growing up, my family is very much like a movie family, like after dinner watching shows or movies, but I fall asleep at any given point in time. I just fall asleep. And so like it's not that there was a lack of movies. There were opportunities for me to watch movies, and I've probably seen a lot of maybe the first 20 minutes of movies, but in actuality, I wasn't finishing the movies and then I would just fall asleep on the couch, which sometimes that's the best way to fall asleep. Just gotta say it.
Putting on a movie and going right to bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I don't think this was a movie really to sleep through. So
Absolutely not.
So let's get into the synopsis and then I'll hear how your impression of it. Um, Fried Green Tomatoes is a story that unfolds in two timelines. So we follow the present day friendship between Evelyn Couch and an elderly woman named Ninny Threadgoode in the story of Idgie Threadgoode and Ruth Jamison in the 1920s and 30s. So while visiting Ninny in the nursing home, Evelyn, an unhappy housewife feeling invisible, is inspired by the tales of Idgie's adventurous life and her strong bond with Ruth, which helps gain the confidence to change her own life. The stories of the two women from the past who run the Whistle Stop Café and overcome hardships together become a catalyst for Evelyn's transformation. So, without giving away the plot, what did you think?
It was such a good movie. Once again, I feel like the movies that we've been watching have been so good at depicting real current issues, and I really liked that about this movie. Obviously, I want to spoil things, but it was traumatic. It had good representation of like different groups and things like that. I'm trying to like say this as vaguely as I can, FYI. But I really liked the characters too. I did do a little bit of research between
Yeah.
the book and the movie, and
Okay.
just a question in advance, is the book's
Sure.
plot different than the movie?
It's kind of similar. There are some differences in I think a little bit of character and I think most of it's generally the same though.
Okay, yeah, because when I was like researching certain relationships and stuff like that, just to get like a better idea of what was going on, a lot of the information from the books came up, which like
Yeah.
yeah, with the relationships, I thought that was kind of interesting that those were different. And I was like, I wonder if that's because of like certain acceptance in the world
Oh,
at that time or something like that. I was like,
you
that's
can mention what
interesting.
it is if you want to.
Oh, okay, yeah, the platonic, but like inferred romantic relationship between Ruth and Idgie. I thought it was interesting how in the book that was more prevalent, according
I
to at
think
least what it said.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it honestly, I never read the book, but I'm not sure if it spells it out like that in the book or if it's just kind of inferred from people because a lot of people also have opinions and thoughts on like the connection between Ninny and Idgie, and I think that that is open to interpretation a little bit too, but so yeah, I think we'll get into do you want to just get into the background?
Yes, yes, let's get into
Okay.
the background.
Well, this movie was directed by John Avnet, who went on to direct The War, which is a really great movie. I didn't even cross my mind, but it's with Elijah Wood, and that's also a very good book. And he also directed Up Close and Personal, which is a love story starring Robert Redford and Michelle Pfeiffer, and it also had Stockard Channing in it, among several other movies and films. He's produced things like He's also produced Risky Business and Black Swan. So those are movies you'll probably have either heard of or seen. This movie is based on a novel, The Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe, as you were mentioning, by Fanny Flagg, who was a writer and actress appearing in the background of this movie and who is also in the movie Grease. So there's our connection again to Stockard Channing. Um, and adapted for the screen by Carol Sobeski, who also wrote the screenplay for Annie, the musical. So now, in addition to the director and the writer working with Stockard Channing, do you know any of our other connections to our first movie, First Wives Club?
No, but I do have written down some of the major co-stars.
Let's talk about the cast. We'll dive into the cast. So I caught the opening credits as we're opening, and it said special appearance by Cicely Tyson. And I was watching it, and I was like, well, who the heck is that? So let's talk about Cicely Tyson for a hot second. First of all, she has 50 credits to her career by the time she made this movie, plus two uncredited pieces. And you should, she is, you should really go and look at her IMDb. It's intense. But she played Coretta Scott King in the miniseries King and in her role in Roots. Following this movie, she was in the Rosa Parks story, Diary of a Mad Black Woman, Medea's Family Reunion, The Help, and honestly, way too many things for me to list here. And she worked up until 2020 when she was 95, which is crazy. She was known for playing a strong Black woman, and holy crap, did she ever play that. So my guess is that she was a strong Black woman and played what she knew. But it was she has a really great experience. She also I thought this was interesting researching her. She was married to Miles Davis, who was a jazz performer. And they divorced. So being a huge fan of jazz, I like have a lot of Miles Davis records, and now I kind of like him a little bit less because like what did you do to Cicely Tyson? I was kind of already by reading her credits, I was like in love with her already. So whatever broke them up, it had to have been his fault.
Yeah.
Um, and then if you get a chance to go to her IMDb page for sure, look at her first photo, which is the photo from one of her movies with Tyler Perry in 2010. In 2010, she was 84 and she looks like she's barely 54. So whatever genetics she has, I want those. She spent most of her career playing old women, even women who were 110, and she looks half of that in real life. No freaking way she's entirely old at all because she just looked incredible.
That's,
Um,
oh my God.
so take a look at her and her role. The movie itself opens with pulling an old truck out of the water, as you saw. And from what I can tell, that's a Ford Model A, which I thought was kind of cool because I think that was my grandfather's first vehicle. He drove a Ford Model A.
Oh my
My great
God.
grandfather had had a service station, and one day a man came driving through and had popped a tire, but he couldn't afford to fix or replace the tire. So he sold that truck to my great grandfather for bus fare, and then my
Oh,
grandpa learned to drive on it.
oh
Um
my God.
so I was like, oh, I didn't even like I was like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
To have this connection to my own life. Next in the movie, we see Evelyn Couch, played by Kathy Bates. She's sitting in the car outside the old Whistle Stop Cafe while her husband is on the payphone. On the window, we see that she's staring longingly at the cafe window where peach pie, pecan pie, blueberry pie, and there had been once a sign written that said fried green tomatoes served hot at the Whistle Stop Cafe. And as she's eating some kind of candy bar to satisfy her hunger. Outside of this role, Kathy Bates is best known for her work in Misery, Titanic, The Water Boy. She plays the mother in Water Boy, and she's also in Annie. So there's another connection.
Oh.
I really loved her in Failure to Launch. She was in P.S. I Love You, The Blind Side, and she was in The Office as Jo Bennett. She had her own show for a long time called Harry's Law, which was really good. I think it was like a year or two. And then she is on the new Matlock right now, and she's incredible. My mom is binge watching that right now and is obsessed. So she keeps telling me, Kathy Bates is so good. I was like, I know. Um, but at the whistle stop, a train noise rumbles by, but no train came through, so it's like a ghost of a train. We see Ed Couch, and Ed and Evelyn had gone in the wrong direction to visit Ed's Aunt Vesta, where Evelyn definitely is not welcome. Evelyn at this community is meets Ninny Threadgoode, an 82-year-old widow in the rec room of the senior living facility, where she starts up a conversation by saying, "Did you know they took my gallbladder out?" to Evelyn across the room. And then she starts talking about enemas, which has got to be the weirdest way to strike up a conversation with someone.
True friendship right
Um,
there, to be honest.
And then do you remember, this is where that question comes back in, where I said, what's our connection to First Wives Club? Do you remember the quote from the First Wives Club? There are three women in Hollywood. There are three types of women in Hollywood: the babe, the district attorney, and driving Miss Daisy.
Yes, I do remember this quote.
So Ninny, who we now see in the movie, is played by Jessica Tandy, who is literally the Miss Daisy of driving Miss Daisy. She played Miss Daisy.
Oh my God, wait, I should have like realized that.
So
I-
it's kind of funny because there's like a connection back again to our first movie.
Wait, that's so cool. What?
Most importantly to me, she also played a character of Faye in one of my favorite movies when I was really young, which is called Batteries Not Included. So I think I was kind of drawn to this movie because of that was one of my absolute favorite movies. That's a movie from 1987, but I really highly recommend watching it.
Batteries.
Um, so it's a good one with her in it. She
Okay, I'm gonna.
says she's from Whistle Stop and she's there to be the roommate to Miss Otis, who will be leaving soon. She'll be leaving soon as Miss Otis is settled. She says that the Threadgoods adopted her and she married Cleo Threadgood. She says that Idgie or Imogene Threadgood and her friend Ruth started the Whistle Stop Cafe. Now, Idgie is played by Mary Stuart Masterson, not Martha Stewart.
Oh, typo then, typo.
Who was in the 1975 Stepford Wives. She was in Benny and June, where she played opposite Johnny Depp. That's a 90's movie. Ruth is played by Mary-Louise Parker, who's known for her roles in Red, Weeds, The Client, Boys on the Side, The West Wing, The Spiderwick Chronicles, and even 2 episodes of Elsbeth that's out right now. Then Ninny starts into the story of where Idgie Threadgood was arrested the day the truck was pulled out of the water and was accused of murdering the owner of the truck. And we're introduced to Buddy Threadgood, played by Chris O'Donnell, who I know best from Batman and Robin, also in the 90's, and Batman Forever. But he was in a lot of other things, including The Three Musketeers. Now, Buddy is Idgie's brother, an idol who calls Idgie Little Bit, which I thought was cute
Yeah.
because one of my cousins calls her sister a little bit.
Wait,
Um,
that's cute. Oh.
I'm probably not because of this movie. I don't think that they've ever seen it, but Idgie makes it to the wedding in a tiny suit instead of a dress because she's a tomboy. Woo-hoo, go tomboys. The local pastor is played by Richard Ryle or Real. I think it's Ryle. who's known for his role in The Man from Earth, Casino, Office Space, and Deuce Bigelow. He has 427 credits in his career for so far. So if he looked at all familiar, he probably was. He's got a lot of credits to his
Oh,
name,
like
IMDb. Yeah.
over 400. Oh my
427, yeah. It's crazy.
God.
We're then introduced to Ruth Jamison, Buddy's love interest, and following the wedding of Leona, the oldest sister, Buddy chases Ruth's hat onto the train tracks where he gets his foot and boot stuck. And just as his foot gets unstuck is when the train strikes him, killing him at age 18.
Yeah, that's
How
yeah.
did you
And
take this?
not great. Not great at all. I That's insane. And this question will come into play later, but if he was 18, does that mean Ruth was 18? I don't remember if that was said.
She was probably around that age, or maybe a little
Okay.
younger, or maybe she was a little. I mean, they didn't really give her age, did they?
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say they didn't. So I just wanted to ask about that. Okay, yeah, that was very sudden. I was not expecting that until his shoe got stuck. Then I kind of presumed, yeah. But I was not expecting that, and that's a really messed up way
Right.
to
Especially
die.
after he gets it unstuck and you think he might be saved, and then the train hits him.
Yeah, that's a really upsetting way to go out, especially saving someone's hat too. Like he was actively doing a nice thing and just no,
Hmm.
or it was not.
And how un-90s is a movie is that, of how like putting something so sorrowful in a movie when everything's generally kind of upbeat and happy and nothing really bad ever happens. This is definitely a movie that does not go that way.
Yeah, no, I was not expecting that, especially based on the other movies we watched that just like
Right?
ended up so happy. I was like, oh,
It's
oh.
rare. It's gonna be rare, I promise. Sometimes bad things will happen in 90s movies, but usually they don't have a lot. But so Idgie was hit the hardest, staying outside along the river, and Big George looked after her. Now, Big George, I don't know what it is, but you can't help but just love him. Like he
He
is the
was so fun.
protector. He is the
Yeah.
gentle giant. This character, the way that it was written was just amazing, and the way that it's played. He's played by Stan Shaw, whose credits include Cutthroat Island, Monster Squad, Daylight, Rising Sun, none of which I've ever seen. I've never even heard of those. But he was in Rocky, and then he was also in Roots: The Next Generation miniseries. And I would have loved to see him in the episodes he did on Murder, She Wrote. Apparently, he did a couple episodes on Murder, She Wrote. So I've probably seen them, but I guess I didn't know or recognize him or connect the dots. But flashback to present, and Evelyn leaves to attend a lecture on putting back the spark into her marriage. She imagines making an outfit out of cellophane to answer the door in, and her husband scolds her in her imagination. Which I love that that was like in her mind, and then it didn't go well.
So funny. I thought that was the weirdest thing ever. I was like, what? Like, why? Why? I feel like there are a lot of more sexy ways to attempt to seduce your husband than using that. But
I
you know,
mean, especially when hers looks like a power suit. There's a movie I think that has the cellophane, like, and that's kind of where that comes from, of answering the door wrapped in cellophane. But it was not one where you've made a power suit it almost, I think it looked like it had shoulder pads in it and,
yeah, it looks a little like
like
bulky.
everything else. So. And
Yeah.
yeah, even in her imagination, it didn't go well. So in reality, she fixes her husband dinner and he comes home and takes his dinner over to the TV and to watch the Braves game, which is baseball for you non-sports ball folks like me. She asks him if she answered the door in cellophane, would he pay attention to her? And he says he would check her into the loony bin. That was just like, wow, rude.
I
Um,
mean, I can we blame him though? Like, I feel like when I do that situation, I think, oh, okay.
Back at the Alabama nursing home, Evelyn meets with the Ninny again, and she talks about how Idgie grew up and finally came home, where Ruth is staying with her family. She meets Frank Bennett, the man whose murder got her arrested. She introduces herself as Tawanda to Frank Bennett initially. Idgie Threadgoode is Ruth's newest project, Ruth says, gambling in the salon, wearing shorts, hopping trains, fishing, throwing food to the homeless camps. They leap from a moving train and hobble back to the house. She steals her brother's car and they go to a picnic out under a tree in the field where she gets honey by sticking her arm into the tree that has honeybees. Now, I have to tell you, I did read something. The um the stunt woman for that part bailed right before they shot it. And so
Oh,
the actress actually does stick her hand and be around the honeybees.
so she genuinely had. Did we find out if they actually stung her?
I don't think, I mean, from it didn't look like they stung her.
No, it didn't
You
look
can
like.
call, they were probably like, I'm sure that there was somebody, uh, like a beekeeper that kind of could help. You can smoke them so that they are more calm. There's like pheromones and stuff that you can put out that kind of or like scents that you can put out that makes them calmer.
Oh,
Um and generally obviously like you'll want to work with a docile hive anyway. But yeah, I didn't read on like how they did everything and how they did the stunt, but there's no like effects here. This was her actually working with bees and herself. So because they only had so much daylight, they were already on the shoot, everything was already set up. So supposedly she did that herself.
oh my God, that's
So
insane. As
Idgie
someone
takes
sorry.
no, what'd you say?
I said, as someone terrified of bees, that like
Oh,
freaks me
you don't need to
out.
be scared of bees. That's Be scared of wasps, but don't be scared of bees. Bees are
Yeah,
great.
it's true.
Um,
The more so wasps, more so
yes,
wasps.
and those are definitely different. Idgie takes Ruth for Ruth's birthday to drink and play poker in the water and plays baseball. Ruth goes home after the summer and writes to Idgie, but Idgie didn't write. But she did drive to Georgia to watch her get married from afar, as we saw. Present day, Evelyn's class teaches her to look at her undercarriage and explore her sexuality and separateness. So this had women, I'm sure, with mirrors looking at their undercarriage, see what it looks like. Get comfortable with it. Know what it looks like. It's
Oh my God.
femininity.
I thought that was so funny. That had me wondering, is that something that these types of groups actually encourage? Because like I love
Oh,
that,
probably.
but okay, okay.
I'm sure. I'm sure that, I mean, I highly doubt anyone was like, okay, everyone, drop your panties. Here's your mirror. Let's all do this in the
Yeah,
same room together. Because I
yeah,
feel like that's weird.
yeah. I agree.
But I bet it was probably like an assignment of go home and like use a mirror and
Yeah.
from the comfort of your own home kind of situation. But I love how she was like, I need to go. I need help with my girdle and like leaves.
Yeah,
Um,
didn't she say that she had like something wrong? Or like wait, doesn't that mean that she was like trying to fake having something wrong or something like
no,
that?
do you know what a girdle is? Just like something that sucks in all of your fat.
Oh my God, I did not know that. I
So
thought that
like
meant she
it's
had like
like
something.
a girdle is shapewear.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay,
she's
okay.
saying she's like lying to get out of being in there. I mean, she
Yeah.
might have had shapewear on, but also she's probably uncomfortable because that is
No
such an
one.
uncomfortable situation. And so
Yeah.
um yeah, it's like think of like a waist trainer, but also
Oh,
like some shapewear and some girdles had like it's like shapewear where you had it up over like shorts or whatever that you pulled up. And so you'd
oh.
have to take that off in order to act anyway. The
Okay, that
point
was
is
one of my
that
questions.
she was using that as an excuse to get the heck out of there and get her friend to tell her, like, does this seem like she wanted to talk with her friend? So she was trying to get her friend out of there too.
Oh,
So,
that's good. Okay, yeah, that was one of my questions. 'Cause I was like, what? Is she trying to say that she has like something going on? I was like, what?
no, no, girdle's like shapewear. It's like to
Okay.
keep you looking, having an hourglass figure,
Okay.
um, and keep everything tucked in.
Okay, good
Um,
to know.
So Evelyn keeps cooking nice meals for her husband and she tries to make her marriage better, but her husband isn't putting any effort in. At the nursing home, she meets Ninny, who now has purple hair for the holiday. I love that she was excited about it too. She's like, "Don't you like that? Does that
It
look
was so
great?"
cute too. It was so cute. It was bright. It was bright. I was like, oh, okay, Ninny.
Back to Idgie's story. Ruth had just gotten married to Frank Bennett. After a few years, she drove to Georgia to check on Ruth, and Ruth came to the door with a black eye, possibly getting abused. She tries to send Idgie away. A letter then comes from Ruth later. Ruth's mother died. Idgie, Julian, and Big George drive to Georgia to find Ruth pregnant and start moving her out when her husband comes home and starts wailing on her. They threaten him, and he pushes Ruth down the stairs, and then Idgie threatens to kill him. Back in present day, Evelyn runs into her friend Missy and decides not to go back to the group. Uh, and then she's at the grocery store, and a young teen calls her a fat cow and an old bee. Uh, and then she goes back to the nursing home to talk about Ninny and how she's using food to cope as a coping mechanism. And you hear the famous line, "I'm too young to be old and too old to be young,"
Such a
which
good true thing, I think.
it's a really, yeah. I, honestly, watching this movie at my age now, like you have a completely different perspective on it and at like different phases of your life. So, but watching this movie and being like, heading towards the age of Kathy Bates at the time, which is terrifying to me. Um, and just having those feelings of like, yeah, I'm too old to be young and too young to be old or I'm too old to young to be old and too old to be young. But backwards. But yeah, I definitely felt that very much right now. So she's going through the change and needs some hormones. That's what Ninny says. Get you some hormones, get out of the house and get a job. And she says you should do cosmetics because you have good skin. And then Ninny talks about her child Albert, who was special and passed away at the age of 30. Ninny then dives back into her story when Ruth's son was born and named Buddy Jr. Ruth and Idgie start the Whistle Stop Café, and people don't like that they sell to black folks out back. She threatens to expose the KKK members, and threatens Grady, who's now the sheriff. Idgie and Ruth have good hearts and they support the poor and the hungry. Grady says that Idgie has been a bad influence on Ruth. Frank Bennett shows up at the Whistle Stop Cafe, and the KKK comes for the Whistle Stop Cafe, and Frank comes to steal the baby and threatens her. The KKK kidnaps and whips Big George. This was hard for me to watch.
Yeah.
But thank God Grady helps get him turned loose. I wanted to reach through the TV and flip out.
The
So,
the whole part about the KKK had me just flipping out the fact that they were there. I was like, what? And I didn't
yeah.
even realize that that's the time period. And then it clicked, and I was like, oh my God, this is horrendous. What?
Yeah.
What?
And then that was the last anyone saw of Frank Bennett until the town follies. Frank comes back with a shotgun. He hits Nanny Sipsy, um, which was our Cicely Tyson, and the poor customer Smokey, and gets knocked over the head by a shovel, finally. Um, or it looked like a shovel at the time, but we didn't know later. We find out it was a frying
Yeah.
pan. The next day, the sheriff comes looking for Frank Bennett, who was gone missing. Played by Rainer Shine, who was in My Cousin Vinny, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, and Lincoln, is the sheriff. They're interested in the barbecue, and they end up feeding the sheriff 4 plates of it. The sheriff threatens Idgie for threatening Frank with murder. He harasses Big George and threatens to hang him if he helped Idgie kill Frank. And then back to present day, Evelyn is at the Winn-Dixie trying to get her parking space, and she gets cut off by a woman who says that they're younger and faster. So then she rear ends the car and says to Wanda, like she continues to rear end it, and then shouts to Wanda, "Face it, girls, I'm older and I have more insurance." She gets mad to Wanda. She starts working out on her small trampoline, which made me want to get a small trampoline. I'm actually thinking about it now because I was like, wow, that actually looks like fun. And I think the social media algorithms have caught on to me because now they're sending me videos of people on small trampolines at home. So
Really?
like how it's reading my thoughts, you never know. Um, Ninny is worried about her friend Evelyn, who told her that her husband sits around all day and she has the urge to hit him in the head with a baseball bat, to which the nurse responds, "That seems normal to me," which I love. Ninny says 5 years have passed since Frank Bennett disappeared and Smokey Lonesome disappeared that same night. Then Smokey shows back up. Miss Ruth is teaching kids. Smokey shows up at the cafe. Curtis Smoot, which is the sheriff from Georgia, is back to eat more barbecue. Like, didn't get enough the first time. Then we see that Buddy's arm dies at the age of 5, and they have a funeral for his arm, and they call him Stump. So thank goodness that he did not get killed by a train, just his arm. And then it
Yeah.
rains and floods part of Whistle Stop, and they discover Frank's truck in the river. They arrested Idgie and Big George to take over to Georgia. But Grady is saying that he's willing to sacrifice Big George for Idgie, but she is not.
Yeah, no.
Idgie
Yeah.
went on trial, and the Reverend covered for them, who swore to tell the truth on a copy of Moby Dick in return for Idgie attending church every Sunday. And the judge dismisses the case and rules it an accidental death. That was a pretty awesome turn of events. I was very
So
excited.
much. I loved when they were like in the courtroom and Ruth like after the fact and Ruth told Idgie, she was like, now you have to go to church. Like
Yeah.
how she convinced the Reverend. I was like, oh my God. It was so funny.
Back in the present day, Evelyn is taking a sledgehammer to her home. She calls out her husband for sitting on his butt when she's trying so hard. So why keep trying? Evelyn's hair looks amazeballs by then. If you notice her hair change, it was really great.
She just
Miss
started to
Otis's
glow up. Sorry, she just
what?
started to glow up over time. I feel like
Yeah,
she's
her glow
looked
up.
happier. She just like she slid.
Absolutely. Miss Otis's daughter-in-law stops by, and Evelyn learns that Miss Threadgoode's house was torn down. It was condemned. Evelyn stops in to see Ninny for her birthday, bringing her fried green tomatoes from her own recipe. And she has roses all over her room and photos of Ruth. After the trial was over, everything went back to normal until eventually she develops cancer. Ruth does. Idgie prayed for a miracle, but Ruth made plans for her son's life. Ruth told Idgie to settle down if she can find someone who can beat her in poker, which I thought was really sweet.
Yeah.
She knows Idgie tells tall tales and asks her to tell a story about the local lake that a big flock of ducks. The temperature had dropped so fast that the lake froze over and the ducks flew off and took the lake with them. Now they say the lake is somewhere over in Georgia. Ruth dies and Sipsy covers the photo and then also stops the clock, which I'm wondering if that's like so that they know time of death.
That's what I assumed. I assumed that was for that. I thought that was like a little bit odd though too. I was like, hmm.
But I don't know about covering the photo. I know about covering
Yeah.
mirrors. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
So
You
I'll
cover
have to,
mirrors when somebody dies? I did not know that.
yeah. So there's, okay, I don't remember the reason. I will have to come back with that on our next pod and explain, but feel free to Google it. in the meantime for anybody listening, but I will Google it and get back to you on why they cover mirrors because I just watched something else recently where they covered the mirror when someone died to make sure like the spirit isn't caught there or something. I don't know. A lot of people also open a window when someone dies so the spirit isn't caught in the room and they can leave. But I don't know. I don't remember the mirror thing of why, so I'll make notes.
Okay, sounds
Good
good.
question. Good. I feel like you should
Interesting.
know the answer,
I
but
feel like I
all
should
right.
too.
Well, Sipsy has a great line. Miss Ruth was a lady, and a lady always knows when to leave. And honestly, I want that on my tombstone now. Like from
Yeah,
here, I'm gonna put that somewhere that a lady always knows when to leave is what I'm gonna put.
you should.
Um,
That's a cool line. Yeah.
it is. And I'm such a, like, I definitely know when to leave. I always know when to leave a party. I sneak
Yeah.
out, Irish goodbye. Nobody needs to know. Lady knows when to leave.
Oh my God, I'm the same way. Gotta like sneak out.
I'm a Midwesterner and I don't Midwest goodbye. I just leave.
Yeah, me too.
Ruth brought everyone out because of how amazing she was to her funeral. Smokey Lonesome was in love with Ruth from the first time he saw her, and everyone was. Ninny says death isn't something to be afraid of. Back to present day, Ed comes home with flowers for Evelyn. Evelyn puts the wall back up and convinces her husband to let her friend Miss Threadgoode to come back into her home, whether he likes it or not.
Yeah,
Evelyn has a
basically.
job now, and so she says she won't take never or no for an answer. And then she goes to the gym. Next morning, she goes to visit her friend and she finds that it's possible that Mrs. Threadgood died in that morning, but it was actually Mrs. Otis that had died, and Miss Threadgood left in a cab to go home. Except her home had been torn down, and Evelyn chased after her to find her sitting outside on the road. And she's so cute. She says, "Hey, Evelyn, somebody stole my house."
I was so sad for her. I was so sad for her. Sad one because I thought she died. Two,
Right?
because her house got torn down.
And then Evelyn invites her to come home with her. Mrs. Otis was Sipsy's baby sister. Mrs. Otis told Ninny the story about what really happened to Frank. Sipsy had hit him on the back of the head with a frying pan and took the baby back. Smokey and Sipsy had fought him off. Idgie decided that they were going to cook him. It's hog boiling time. And the cop ate 4 plates of Frank Bennett. With the line, the secret's in the sauce. Ninny said she feels better now that all these people will continue to live as long as Evelyn remembers them, which I thought was very sweet.
Yeah.
Now, she talks about Idgie and she says maybe we'll catch a glimpse of her. And so a lot of people after watching this movie think that Ninny is Idgie, but Ninny supposedly is Idgie's sister-in-law.
Yeah.
And so, like, but the confusion is there, and the vague idea is kind of implanted when she's got all these pictures of Ruth, and she doesn't have any pictures of Idgie really on her wall, just mostly Ruth. And she's like, she talks about these situations like she was in the room. So it's everyone kind of left the movie thinking they were the one and the same person.
Yeah. That makes sense. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So, but she wasn't. Supposedly they weren't the same. She was her sister-in-law. So after Ruth died and the railroad stopped running, the cafe closed. The heart of the town just stopped beating. She says it's funny how a little town like this brought so many people together. And that was the end. So, Hannah, what did I miss?
So, one, you missed the gravestone part with the little note from Idgie.
Yes, that's true.
That
There
like
was
proves that she's still alive.
Yeah, but also that's what made people think that it was the same person because Ninny was there. And so they were like, well, maybe Ninny brought the honey. Maybe Ninny wrote the note. But that's true that she's still alive. She still exists. She's out there somewhere.
Yeah, that's very, very true. I thought that was super cool. I liked the ending of that. I thought that was very, very cute.
Tawanda!
So obviously when I write notes, I like write them as my just like random little thoughts because I'm like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
say this, and I just need to write it down like to get it out. So I'm just gonna like write, kind of say off like my thoughts. So the
Yeah.
hormone, I wrote down the hormone quote that you get yourself some hormones, then you get yourself out of the house and get a job. I thought that was the best advice ever. Loved Ninny for that. I thought that was great. I did not like that Grady was racist. Did not like that. I did not like just like all the racism in it. I also wanted to ask you, was there a specific reason that they referred to African Americans as colored? Was that like for that time period?
That was of that time period. That was a way, I mean, that was just honestly a way to differentiate people in a negative light. I mean, they found every possible way to make Black people feel less than. I mean, that's a historical, it's just, it's such a terrible history we have. But everyone needs to know it. So that it hopefully never goes back to anything like that ever again. Um, but yeah, that was something that people, I mean, there was a lot of words used to discriminate against others that have no reason for that. There's even a big push now to like stop using the word interracial because that like distinguishes like that people are different. Instead, they're using interethnic, which I really like because there's just two different ethnicities. We're all made of the same stuff. It just depends on like melanin in your skin doesn't make anything else
Yeah.
different about you. And unfortunately, I mean, it does in terms of cultural because of what has happened and what Black people have had to go through, and anyone of any kind of color have had to go through, if their melanin has been any kind of different, they have this long history of being discriminated against, and it's terrible. And the fact that, you know, I hate seeing it because who wants to see that? But the fact that it's important to know what's going on, what happened, what came before, and it's important to see these things and understand. That's why I mentioned that several of the characters had been in Roots. They had done a Roots original miniseries that was on TV, which was the most empowering thing to be able to put that on television to show and affect the minds of people that like to whitewash history and make it seem like nothing bad ever happened. And so
Yeah.
if you get a chance to ever see Roots, I highly recommend that. And then even the follow-up miniseries that they did after that. Um, but it's just a very good, I think everyone should study the history of the civil rights movement. I think everybody should know all of that stuff just because it's you need to know. You need to know where we all came from, where we all go to. And sorry, I'm on my soapbox a little bit because when I have a minor in history and that's what I focused on was the history of the civil rights movement. And it's just and then with I have a minor in anthropology, and so it's like we all came from Africa. We might get canceled by people who are haters, and I'm okay with that. But we all migrated, so none of that should matter.
Yeah. I completely agree. I will look into roots because I have not heard of that. And I love learning about other cultures and things like that. So I think that'll be super cool.
Did you ever see Reading Rainbow?
Mm-mm, no.
Oh, have you seen the new one's out now? You never saw Reading? They didn't have Reading Rainbow on when you were a kid?
I Let me see. No.
Butterfly in the sky. I can go twice. Okay. It was like a show on PBS that it was supposed to stimulate. This is kind of a little like it's off topic, but most people would know where we're going back. Maybe if you're a Gen Z, you might not. But it was a show to stimulate like going to the library, getting books as kids and learning to read and reading. And um anyway, the point is that Roots stars LeVar Burton. LeVar Burton was then got the opportunity to do Reading Rainbow because of Roots. He did such he had such an important role as Kunta Kinte in Roots. And then he was also then able to go on, he did Star Trek, which was another really great like step for television, I should say, because it showed diversity, it had people, it had minorities present, it had women and had them in leadership positions, had women in leadership positions making decisions. And the only reason, like, and like a huge part of why he was able to be in that was because of his role in Roots and how impactful his performance was and the story that was told. It's based on Alex Haley's family history. But anyway, so it's about American slavery. It's a good, everybody should just freaking see it, but it's a 1977
Mhm.
uh thing that was it's a mini series, so there's like a couple episodes. I feel like most schools teach it history class sometimes when they use um movies and TV and things like that to help show history.
Yeah,
But anyway,
that
so you may
makes
have
sense.
seen a part of it, but
Yeah, maybe like clips from it, but I don't think I've ever seen like the full thing.
and then they did a remake in like 2016 as well, but I'm a LeVar Burton fan, so I love me some LeVar Burton because who doesn't? But wow, yeah, you didn't have Reading Rainbow. That's so weird.
No,
Weird.
know what it was until now. Okay. So roots, batteries not included. And I've
I feel
so
like
took
you're
some
just
writing writing things down. I have like a full list of
you're
things.
gonna have so many. I mean, that's not our next movie. Although maybe we should have done that. But yeah, if you get a chance to check out either of those things, I highly recommend. Yeah, batteries not included. Obviously, it will have uh the same woman who played Ninny in it, but it also has it's about like alien robot types of things, but it'll have Frank McRae in it, who I just adore. He plays Harry Noble. He's so you just love him. You just fall in love with him in that movie. But essentially, yeah, it's an interesting movie. If you don't get
Okay.
around to watching it, maybe we'll watch it sometime. But yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. I can do that.
Anyway, so most importantly, let's talk about our next movie. Now, I was gonna shift us to now and then, and I actually bumped it because we have recently had a snowstorm. And there is a perfect movie I felt to watch around Christmas time with a snowstorm that will just make you laugh and
Okay.
will lighten it up a little bit. Um, and I think that is the good movie from the 90's for this time period is Grumpy Old Men.
Grumpy old man.
Yes.
I like I don't like the name. It's funny.
So John Gustafson, who's played by Jack Lemmon. Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau are like a great comedic duo. They've worked together before this movie and after this movie. So John Gustafson and Max Goldman, who's played by Walter Matthau, they're two curmudgeonly like neighbors that have been at each other's throat for years. The rivalry of their former friends, it like intensifies when this woman Ariel, who is played by Anne Margaret, comes along and provides a love interest for both of them. And when Max finds out that John is experiencing some uh family troubles and financial ruin, he may step in to help. We'll see what happens. But their bond is further cemented when he has a health scare. But the best thing about this movie is John and Max, um, their relationship, their lack of relationship, um, and my favorite part is uh John's dad, who's played by Burgess Meredith. He is a handful. So,
I'm gonna write that down to look out for that.
yeah. So you'll notice the grandpa and you'll love it. Now,
Hey.
there's nothing that ties in like some of our themes. There's no connections other than this is the perfect movie for the season.
Okay.
Before we dive into some of our others, the other movies coming up on our list, just to kind of give a teaser, we'll be following this one with Hook, Jumanji, Little Women, Cool Running, Space Jam, Free Willy. So you'll start seeing a lot of these other things come in. But I think for the Christmas season, as we're kind of diving into some of these, this one's a great one to watch.
Okay,
So
sounds good.
it's
Grumpy
out
old
on
man.
Amazon. You can watch it now. I think the rental's like $2, 2.89. It's from 1993. It's a comedy romance. So yeah,
Oh, that sounds.
it's a good movie. And then you have to stay through because during the credits, there's like some bloopers.
Okay, bloopers and credits. I'll stay.
Yeah. And there's like these actors do some improv, so you'll see some of the improv options that
Oh
they
my God.
had during that as well. So you do have to stay for bloopers. But yeah, I think you'll like
Okay.
it. It's a good funny movie. I think you'll laugh.
Okay, I'm excited. I'm excited. I think that's a good movie, especially for like this week with all the sad coldness. So,
Yes. And we had such a heavy movie recently, and it was still really
yeah.
good. It ended really good, Fried Green Tomatoes. But
Yeah.
rather than move into another movie that's like kind of got like it's got its ups and downs. It's a comedy, it's a throwback, it's coming of age. But I figure we'll shift that one down a little bit, and we'll watch something that's more like perfect for right now.
Okay, perfect. I'm excited. I look forward to it. I look
I think
forward
you'll
to
find that
it.
you'll like Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau together. They're just a really good
Oh,
duo. So, and then Anne Margaret used to, I mean, she was like the heartthrob back in the, gosh, 60s and 70s, I think.
okay,
So
wait. See what she
she
looks
was
like.
like the people were obsessed with her. She played opposite Elvis. She's
Wait.
been in a lot of different things. And also she sang. She was a singer as well. Um, but yeah, she was in like Bye Bye Birdie, a whole bunch of different stuff.
I just
So
Googled it. She's beautiful. Oh my God.
yeah,
She looks like
yeah,
Marilyn
she's
Monroe,
gorgeous.
kind of.
Yes. Yep. And she's very like yeah, I think you'll like her in this movie. She's kind of crazy and she's kind of fun and she causes everybody up in a tizzy and
Oh,
they're all like, who's this new person moving in? So,
that's fun. Okay, I'm excited. Excited. Yes, Grumpy Old Men. My plan is to watch it tomorrow, and I have a live reaction of my boyfriend reacting to fried green tomatoes. So I
oh,
will
well, do
include
you want
it.
to play that for us?
I could also just edit it in too if that's
Oh,
easier.
okay. Well, yeah, add it in. Love to hear what John has to say.
John. Okay, so this is Hannah and her boyfriend John.
Hello.
And fried green tomatoes was so good. So, so good. What did you think about it, John? What are your final thoughts?
I feel like it was pretty good. It was a good movie. I watched all of it. It's pretty interesting. Pretty sad.
Yeah, I agree. What did you think about the plot and the characters?
Um, I like the plot of it. Plot of it was pretty good. I like the characters mainly though. I feel like the actors were pretty good. I felt very immersed in the movie. And I like the change between like the past and then the present and then going back to the past was pretty good.
Awesome. Thank you.
So that's it for us for this week. And we appreciate all of you. Till next time, we'll be watching Grumpy Old Men and hope to tune in along and watch with us. And we'll happy to hear what Hannah has to say about that one.
Yeah, Yes, I hope you guys all had a happy holiday.
Thanks for listening.